right, welcome to another edition of the Black Agenda Podcast. And today I'm your co-host, Devin Dito, along with my co-host, Adrian Guest. And we are happy to be here with you to bring you another, part of our HBCU awareness series. And today we are grateful and excited to have Grambling State University and its president, Dr. Rick Gallot. So we appreciate you coming on the show, Dr. Gallot.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Thank you. And we're happy to have you on the show. And just for those folks who don't know, Dr. Gallot was named the 10th president of Grambling State University in 2016. And he is a former Louisiana state senator and state representative. And Dr. Gallot is actually a graduate of Grambling State in 1987, where he received a Bachelor of Arts in Arts and History. And he also went on to earn his Juris Doctorate from Southern University in 1990. So again, a very distinguished guest, and we're excited to have him on the show with us. And so, Dr. Gallot, our first question, you started your college career, at Grambling State. And so we just, off the top, real general question, what does it mean, to go from being a student on campus to now being the president and leading that university? And how important was it for you as a young college student coming up to choose an HBCU for your undergraduate and graduate?
Sure. So my story actually starts a little earlier than that. I attended nursery school through college on this campus. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, my childhood home is literally across the street from the campus. So I grew up in this community. My mother taught history here. My dad was a businessman and a barber here in town. So I have lived in Grambling pretty much all my life, with the exception of the 3 years I was in Baton Rouge in law school. So it is, and it's funny, I get the question, what were you doing, or where were you living before you became president? I was living in Grambling. So so it is, it was a very easy transition. I never thought when I was, growing up here, or certainly as a college student, never in a million years thought that I would be president. As a matter of fact, being president or working at the university was one of three things I said I would never do. So I said I would never work at the university. Obviously, I do. I said that I would never live in Grambling. After I left to go to law school, I said I would never return. So that was number two. And number three, I said I would never go into politics. And the basis behind that story, my dad was always involved in politics. And when I was 15, he was the mayor. And a lady called our house one morning about 5 a.m. to let the mayor know that a dog turned over her garbage can. That was something that the mayor needed to know at 5 a.m. And so at that point, with all the wisdom of a 15-year-old, I said, I'll never be a politician. I'll never go run for public office. And so all the things I said I would never do, I'm doing.
Yeah, and that's that's so interesting that you're 3 for 3. Everything you said you wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Here you are in 2021 and doing, most of those things.
Well,
So
and look, I tell people all the time, one of my favorite scriptures is Proverbs 19:21. Many of the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. And so, as much as we, plan to do all of these things, God does have purpose for our lives. And I'm so thankful that He has given me the opportunity to live out the purpose that I believe He has for my life. And so it's a really amazing feeling to feel like I'm walking in God's purpose for my life. And so, if this is what He purposed for me to do, hey, I'm all for it, because I know He's in it, He's involved in it, and He's supporting us throughout. And so, a lot of the success that we see, here at the university, as much as I would love to claim credit for it, I'll say, it's part of God's plan, so it's got to work, right?
that's exactly right. It's funny how things, how life works out, And so, and one of the things we wanted to ask you about was kind of, life before being, president of the university. And so you, like we mentioned earlier, you were, a state representative, from 2000 to about 2012. You were a member of the Louisiana House of Representatives, holding the District 11 seat for those who are familiar with that area. And then you went on to win your first race to become a state senator. And so we know that funding for HBCUs are just education in general is a touchy issue. It's been controversial. And so we just wanted to ask, during your time in the Louisiana House, did you find yourself, as an HBCU graduate, did you ever find yourself in the middle of discussions about, you know, funding for HBCUs? And did you ever find yourself maybe having to stress the importance of why we needed to properly fund HBCUs?
Sure, and of course, I could spend 2 hours talking about this, but I know you don't have that much time, so I'll try to make it concise. So when I went to the legislature in 2000, the state of Louisiana was funding about 65% of all higher ed funding, and that wasn't just HBCUs, that was all higher education. Today, that's about 25%. So we saw basically a flip of the funding mechanism, and mainly that occurred during the tenure of Republican Governor Bobby Jindal. So he reduced the state support for higher ed and increased tuition. So basically, we shifted the responsibility or the burden for funding higher education on the backs of our students during that 8-year period that he was in the governor's office. So I've seen a great transition just in terms of our funding. We've always historically been underfunded, and now when you look at the burden of higher education being placed on the backs of our students, the whole issue of student debt or student loan debt. That is a major topic now among those in Washington. It's certainly not new to us. It is something that we are very, very much familiar with. But hey, look, when we were founded back in 1901, as many HBCUs were founded because African Americans had no option for pursuing higher education. Look, we've always done more with less, and we will not allow this moment to pass us by without doing all that we have to do, regardless of the lack of resources. We will always find a way to make it work.
Exactly. And that's the story that we've heard. We talked to Dr. Larry Robinson down at FAMU. We heard that
Yeah,
exact
yeah,
same story, doing more with less,
yeah.
especially now after the financial crisis, things really got tough. And then we have the pandemic. And so just challenge after challenge, every school is having to work through. And so, we know the next question here is, we know that education obviously is a great tool. It's a great indicator for where you will eventually end up in life as far as your income and being able to move up classes. And so, but we do know HBCUs have absolutely been a way for Black and Brown communities to rise up. I mean, we know many HBCUs are responsible for a lot of the bachelor degrees that a lot of African Americans get, and even becoming more graduate degrees too. And so, Dr. Robertson at FAMU told us that story just isn't really, I guess, being told enough.
Mhm.
How important HBCUs were, particularly the 1920s and onward, how important they were to building out and rounding out the Black middle class. And so, give us your take on how important HBCUs are to building that middle class in Black America, and why isn't this something you think that's been marketed more and we just don't know more about that?
Sure, and of course, at the end of the day, it is our responsibility to tell our story. And so, and look, Larry Robinson is one of my mentors. I have certainly gained a lot from and learned a lot from Larry Robinson about higher education and higher ed administration. But when you look at the Black middle class, and historically in Louisiana, for instance, if you wanted to be a teacher, you went to Grambling or you went to Southern. Okay, that was just your pathway towards that Black middle class. Well, now we're basically looking at two missions that we're running simultaneously. Number one, we've partnered with Clemson to start the Call Me Mister program here. So we are educating young Black men to be teachers. If you look nationally, there are only 2% of classroom teachers are African American male. In state of
Mhm.
Louisiana, it's 4%, but still, that number is not enough. The first bachelor's degree that was awarded at Grambling was in teacher education. So this is not new for us, but it is something that we are renewing as a mission that we are absolutely committed to, and that is ensuring that students in the classroom will have a Black teacher who they can see in front of that classroom, who can impact them and can provide the type of leadership that is sorely missed in the classroom. Now, on the flip side of that, and part of our other mission now is making sure that we're preparing a workforce that not only prepares the Black middle class, but is relevant for the jobs, not just of 2021, but of 2031 and 2041. So Grambling has the state's first and only bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. We have the state of Louisiana's first and only bachelor's degree in cloud computing. And so when you look at the McKinsey reports and other reports on the landscape of the workforce and the world of work, there's so much emphasis on cybersecurity and on cloud. I mean, we're on Zoom right now, which is a cloud-based solution, right? I mean, more and more in this pandemic has only put an exclamation point on the fact that cloud is here to stay and is a much greater part of how we will do business, how we will conduct school, how we will communicate with one another. And so again, I think, us having those degree programs absolutely position us to provide a workforce that will be relevant. Our students won't have a problem finding a job when they leave here with a cybersecurity degree, with a cloud computing degree, with a teaching degree. They will have jobs that will absolutely be available, and they're good paying jobs, and will also add to the fiber and fabric of our country and support national defense, and everything. So we're just really excited about being able to talk about those that dual track that we're involved in.
And that's so great to hear, honestly, because we know how important HBCUs are. So I think it's pretty exciting to hear how Grambling is trying to position itself to be valuable to students who are going to be wanting jobs that may not necessarily exist right now. And so you can go, to somewhere like Grambling State University to be prepared for
Yeah.
21st century jobs. So that's excellent to hear that.
Oh, look, and you mentioned Dr. Robinson and FAMU. I mean, a lot of the STEM areas in engineering and other areas that they are well known for right now. Look, here's the thing: we're putting out graduates who are excellent in their fields, regardless of being an HBCU. I just think that it provides our students an opportunity to grow and matriculate in an environment where they are celebrated and not tolerated, okay? And of course, in this whole social unrest environment that we're involved in right now in Charlottesville and George Floyd and everything else, our students need to know that there is a FAMU, there's a Grambling, there's a Southern, there's Pine Bluff, schools that they can go to where they can see people who look like them, that are committed to their success. When they look at buildings around on campus, like here at Grambling, you'll see Woodson Hall, named for Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black history, Carver Hall, Black scientists. I mean, all of our buildings, there's no Robert E. Lee building or Robert E. Lee Street on Grambling's campus that, our students are surrounded by Black excellence. And so again, it just provides our student that something extra that gives them confidence to know that they are important, and their excellence will absolutely provide them an opportunity to do anything and go anywhere.
Exactly. And that message is one that we're trying to echo, that you can go to HBCUs and be successful and extremely successful in your career.
Mhm.
But we do want to ask, and we're going to do this in our next segment. So that's going to do it for our first segment. But when we come back after the break, we wanted to ask, you mentioned it, the perception out there, because we know, me, Adrian, and that HBCUs are invaluable to what, to African Americans in our community. But we know that the public perception sometimes when it comes to recruiters and advisors at certain schools, it's not always that HBCUs are valued or seen in that same light. So that's something we want to ask you. So we're going to take our first break and we'll be right back. right, welcome back. So we're continuing our conversation with Grambling State University President, Dr. Rick Gallo. And so we talked at length in the beginning about, just the university and what they're doing and funding. And so now we want to talk about the perception of HBCUs. And so, Dr. Gallo, we know society has a way of putting, a distorted image of minority communities out there, particularly when it comes to African Americans. And we know some of that is applied to HBCUs, with people thinking that their courses aren't rigorous enough, or that your degree is not worth the same as someone who went to, say, a Princeton or Yale or Harvard. And so students are told this. A lot of African American students who go to high school are told to attend popular PWIs instead of going to, say, an HBCU. And we just wanted to ask you, down at Grambling State, what are you all doing to kind of counter this argument and show those young students that you can succeed at Grambling just like you can succeed at Harvard?
Sure, and so one example I think really encapsulates the point on this. We have a graduate by the name of Charles Blow. Charles is originally from Gippsland, Louisiana, which is near here in North Louisiana. Charles graduated in mass communications and went to work at the New York Times. And he's a columnist with the New York Times. You see him on CNN and on MSNBC. I don't know that Charles has ever been invited on to Fox, but you see him on a number of major stations. He just wrote his second book. His first one was Fire Shut Up in My Bones. And this one, the second one is The Devil That You Know, the Black Manifesto. And again, from Grambling, he lives in Atlanta now, but lived in New York for many years. Incredibly successful and is well known in his circles. Right, so, and Charles has told this story. His son was a student at Yale and was going to the library one evening, and was approached by the university police there at Yale, and had guns pulled on him because he was a young Black man going into the library. That I think it really puts an exclamation point on what too many of our students are facing when they attend some of these PWIs. And so, that's not going to happen it didn't happen to Charles when he was a student here at Grambling. He was never profiled by the university police department for going to the library. And so again, this whole environment of nurturing and supporting our students to provide them the pathway to be successful is something that I think no PWI can argue that they're able to provide that same level of support. And certainly, here at Grambling, we've got students from 42 states and 30 foreign countries. We have a very diverse population of students. More than a third of our students come from outside of the state of Louisiana. And so I think the product that we produce is clearly the advantage that we have. So people can criticize and talk about what they perceive to be some level of inferiority, but the graduates that we produce are engaged in every imaginable industry out there.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, one of HBCU graduates, vice president now.
Yeah.
It's not unreal to think that coming from an HBCU, you can go on to do great things. And when you talk about the environment to be nurturing and be very supportive, it just reflects back to me going through college, because I went to Mississippi State, because they didn't really talk much about HBCUs where I was. And I went to Mississippi State. You didn't see that same sort of culture to nurture and support like you would, or like I had heard, when I would go to speak to some of my fraternity brothers from JSU or Alcorn or something like that. It was a totally different dynamic, to where it was a community and everyone was trying to make sure you weren't falling behind, you were actually succeeding. Conversely, with Mississippi State, if you fall behind, they've got your tuition, so that's kind of all that matters.
Yeah.
But despite all of that negativity that HBCUs have to face and that Grambling has to face in general, you all have really been able to thrive and you've been able to really succeed despite all of that, that backlash. Even in just a short stint as president, you've been awarded the HBCU Grow Lead Award for Best Leadership at the group's 2017 Annual Lead Conference. And you've been able to achieve record enrollment, a record number of donations from alumni and donors, and was able to start a nursing program at Grambling. So despite all of this, things are happening in Louisiana, things are happening at Grambling State University. So if you could, just talk to us a little bit about what you've been able to do and what Grambling has done, since you've been there to really achieve these types of successes.
Sure. So, it starts with our students, and just 10 minutes before I came on with you, Adrian Williams, who was an SGA president here at Grambling in my second, he served 2 terms, so my second and third year as president. He now works in Washington. He was on the staff of former Congressman Cedric Richmond, who is now senior advisor to President Biden. And so when I think about students, then graduates like Adrian, who are really at the center of power in our country right now. The Miss Grambling, who was here my first year, completed her master's of public health at Morehouse Medical School. Our students are doing amazing things, which is really, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It is about having great students who go out and produce and do well. And so when you think about these awards and all of that, it starts with the students. It starts with our students doing amazing things. My first year as president, our football team won the HBCU national championship. We saw increases in our enrollment after that. We've had increases every year since I became president. It's not because of me. It's because of all the things that our students are doing, saying good things about the university. We've got a great team. We've got committed faculty. It is just there's so many people who are responsible. Our alumni all over the country. I mean, they do an amazing job of recruiting students for us. And as much as we would love to be able to send recruiters to all 50 states, we aren't able to do that. But look, our alums go to career fairs, they go to college fairs and high school recruiting events and represent us there. And they are a huge part of why we continue to see our enrollment grow. We've entered into strategic partnerships, Sodexo Magic, which of course is co-owned by Irvin Magic Johnson, to have a partnership with someone who's such an incredible businessman as Mr. Johnson is, but also such a celebrity. I think really just continues to elevate our presence in media. I was in New York a couple of months after we signed the contract with Mr. Johnson, and a young man at the hotel said, I had a Grambling shirt on. He said, "Grambling, didn't you all just do something with Magic Johnson?" He didn't know what it was. He just knew that he saw Grambling and Magic Johnson. And I said, "Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm Rick Gallot, I'm the president." He said, "You were on the picture." So I mean, these types of relationships and partnerships have really given us an opportunity to tell the world more about the great things we're doing here. Doug Williams, of course, Super Bowl, first African-American to start as quarterback in a Super Bowl for the formerly Redskins, the Washington football team now, and all the work that he's doing in elevating our profile and our presence in national conversations now. Look, there's just so many people who are responsible for all the amazing things that we're just so incredibly grateful for right now.
That's awesome. I think that's one thing we've realized is that there's always a lot of moving pieces behind the scenes that's happening to make this thing come about. Not to mention the Tiger marching band. You know, Devin and I, we both are tuba players, so we know all about listening to SWAC bands, and I know that y'all get a lot of press and a lot of attention from the band because it's great sound year after year.
Well,
But
look, and talking about the band, they're on their way back from recording. They will be, as well as FAMU, their band. Both of our bands will be performing for the NBA All-Star Game. So
wow,
our bands will play leading up to the introductions of the players for the All-Star Game. So yeah, our band played in the first Super Bowl. We've played in 6 Super Bowls, which is more than any artist, band, actor, anybody. Nobody has
cool.
performed 6 times in a Super Bowl other than the Grambling State University world famed Tiger Marching Band.
No, I like that. Hey, so you've heard it here, viewers. You got a treat today. So, Dr. Gallo, we're going to wrap up this second segment here, and when we come back, one of the things that we really want to talk about, is awareness and really trying to build that, and talk, get out of this public perception and really see how we can get the ball moving for forward trajectory for HBCU. So,
Sure.
viewers, stick with us. We're going to take one more break, and we'll be back into our third segment. All right, viewers, welcome back. We're going to get back into this. Remember, we're joined today with Dr. Rick Gallot, Grambling State University President. This third segment that we want to bring to you viewers is going to be kind of themed building HBCU awareness. So, Dr. Gallo, one thing that we know is, funding. We kind of talked about that a little bit in the second segment. We know that that's lagging. And we know that, each, presidential administration almost tries to correct the separate but equal kind of funding that we have with different sort of executive orders. But it seems like our schools are still not getting the proper due and the proper resources. We've even seen, because I went onto Grambling's website and I was kind of doing a little digging, but we saw that kind of, at least with the recent statistics, even the endowment for the university kind of declined a little bit with, like I said, with the recent statistics. One thing that you see, with Grambling State University and with most HBCUs, the student body is, 85 to 90%, African American. And that's, like I said, typical with most HBCUs. So the question here, because of those demographics, do you think or do you feel that society still treats us as, second class, citizens, second class universities because maybe we're predominantly African American? And do you think if the demographics were maybe higher in white Americans, awareness levels would be any different?
Yeah, so the only way I ever feel inferior is if I let someone make me feel inferior, and I'm just not built that way, okay? And so the graduates we produce are as good, if not better, than any other school. So and again, that's a part of that whole being surrounded by a village, of folks who let you know that you are valuable, that you are. I'll give you a great example. We've got a member of the Graham fam who lives in the Dallas area, originally from Dallas, came here, and she participated in all of the talent shows that we had, and plays that were put on, and just every opportunity to be engaged in performing. We knew her here as Erica Wright. The world knows her as Erykah Badu. See, she had the opportunity to cultivate her gifting here on this campus. Nobody judged her. She was not an outcast because maybe she dressed a little differently or because her style was different. No, we give you the opportunity to develop who you really are without judgment. So if you want to wear your hair natural, guess what? You can wear your hair natural, and you're not singled out or marginalized because you're different. Because hey, guess what? The person in the class next to you may have natural hair too, or not. But you have the ability to grow comfortable in your Blackness, in who you are. And so when you go out into the world, nobody can take your self-confidence away from you. That's one of the many things that we instill and provide our students that absolutely prepares them to be successful. Most recently, and she just left the position, but the first female police chief in Dallas, Texas, Renee Hall, was a Grambling State University graduate. Okay, African American female police chief in Dallas, Texas. Look, she can go and lead any police department anywhere because she got her foundation of training right here at Grambling. Again, you look at what Doug Williams did in the Super Bowl. I know that was many years ago, but there were people who never would have imagined that John Elway's Denver Broncos would fall short to a team being led by Doug Williams. But that's exactly what they did. I mean, across the board, look at Tom Moorhead, one of our graduates, the only African-American Rolls-Royce, Lamborghini, McLaren dealer in the United States of America, right here from Monroe, Louisiana, a graduate of Grambling State University. Look, I mean, I could go on and on of all of the successful business people, all of the Randy Huggins, who was one of the writers on the show The Quad, and I don't know if you ever saw that, but it was a fictional HBCU show on BET, Randy is filming a new project out in Atlanta right now. We've got graduates who are absolutely able to stand toe to toe with anyone in their respective industry. So we don't listen to the critics we're not tone deaf, but we do not let other people's perception of us determine who we are as an institution, nor do our graduates allow themselves to be defined by what someone else may think. And again, we can compete with anybody, anywhere, anytime.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think that when you look at it, go toe to toe. I mean, everyone. I mean, you can even in because one of the things that I study in economics, I took a labor economics course because that's what my degree is in, economics. And one of the things that we studied was the fact that when you look at someone's college trajectory, if they have the same sort of work ethic, you could place them in Harvard, you could place them in Mississippi State, and that student is going to get the same sort of educational value because that student is that student. It's just that society for some reason has different indicators for depending on where you come from. And it seems like and I don't know, you maybe could speak to this. I don't know if because the demographics for HBCUs are predominantly African American, if maybe they were more diverse, do you think that would help to bring any more awareness to the cause and the value of HBCUs?
No. And look, today a student can go to any school that they choose to or want to, obviously, if they have the meet the admissions criteria. But look, we were founded because African Americans could not get an education anywhere else. All right. So, we will always be true to the mission of educating African Americans. Now, yes, we do have a diverse student body to a certain extent. When you look at programs like our nursing program, for instance, we have a lot of, other race students who are a part of that program. If you look at some of our, like our soccer team, for instance, it is a very diverse soccer team. So we don't discriminate against anyone. So anyone who wants to come here is certainly welcome too. But we would not be true to why we were founded in 1901. When Booker T. Washington answered a letter from Black farmers in North Louisiana saying we want to start a school, and he sent Charles P. Adams to start a school here in rural North Louisiana. When Eddie Robinson was hired as the football coach in 1941, he was told by the president at that time, Ralph Waldo Emerson Jones, "I want you to make Grambling football the Black Notre Dame of college football." He didn't say, "I want you to make Grambling football Notre Dame football." He said, "I want you to make Grambling the Black Notre Dame of college football." That was in 1941. Can you imagine the obstacles that Eddie Robinson faced in segregated North Louisiana, where, many of his early teams, couldn't even stay overnight when they traveled to play at other schools because there were no accommodations available for them. So, our road to this point of success has not been an easy one, and we would not be true to who we are now to say that we would have to rely on other race students to come here and make us relevant. We make ourselves relevant based upon the high quality of education. Again, no other school in the state of Louisiana can say they have a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity or a bachelor's degree in cloud computing. No other school in the state of Louisiana can say they have a digital library under construction. When it's opened in June, we will be the first and only school in the state of Louisiana to have a digital library. We'll be only one of a handful in the entire country. We'll be the only HBCU with a digital library. We will make ourselves relevant in that way, and so other schools can certainly come and look at this library once it's open and model theirs after it. But nobody will be able to say that they were the first, not in this state.
No, trust me, we at the Black Agenda, we totally support everything you're saying. But you just get that narrative, that by playing into, being Black centric, it, puts down others or something like that. But when you think about the reason why, HBCUs came about, I mean, that's why we've had to do it that way, because, throughout history, we can't trust for someone else to properly educate our people and properly give our people an opportunity. So it is really important upon us to take it into our own hands. So that's why we really, really are thankful for the work that you are doing at Grambling State and other HBCUs, because without you doing it, like I said, we can't, give that, authority to others, because they're not going to properly do it. They're going to, give us these half truths that we've always gotten K through 12. And then whenever you get the opportunity to go to an HBCU, then you can actually get, get some of the scales to kind of come off of your eyes there. And then to kind of go into our second question here, you yourself, you're a great example. We've kind of talked a lot about examples of who we can look at in society as, pillars of success. But you yourself, I mean, you're an example that an HBCU can produce a high achieving student. But there does seem to be some sort of lack of awareness in being able to see this, because, I mean, we've talked about this. And when you have all of this going on, it almost seems like it just creates almost like a void in people's mind. Even we had, when we spoke to FAMU's president, we talked about Dr. Larry Robinson, and we talked about how certain HBCUs, depending on what field you're going to, like maybe if you're going to be a lawyer, maybe if you're going to be an engineer or a scientist, maybe you should go to MIT, or maybe you should go to some other school. But I mean, you're a lawyer, you graduated from Grambling, you went to an HBCU to really further your career. We wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to give maybe like a little bit of a recruitment pitch, because again, there is, some people who, with Dr. Robinson, he was told, because he was going, I think, into chemical engineering, that he should go to a different school and not an HBCU because of the particular field. So what's your recruitment pitch to some of these parents or students who may be listening and watching this thinking, well, I'm going to do something like neuroscience or whatever, so I really need to go to this school as opposed to going to an HBCU?
Well, again, part of it is giving students an opportunity to really develop not only their substantive learning and skills, but also a level of confidence to go out and face the world that they will absolutely get here and won't necessarily get at at a PWI. You can start here and go anywhere. So we have one of our alums who was a classmate of mine, who also went from nursery school to college on this campus, Dr. Stephanie Miles Richardson. She went on to get her veterinary degree from Tuskegee, and she also has a PhD. She worked for a long time with the Centers for Disease Control, CDC, and is now the associate dean at the Morehouse School of Medicine. Stephanie, and when the pandemic broke out, she was invited on a number of different, news shows to talk about the pandemic. Ways that individuals could shield themselves from exposure and things like that. So she was viewed as an expert in this infectious disease. So, we prepare students who want to go and further their education. We've got MOUs with LSU's medical school in Shreveport, or with Meharry Medical College in Nashville, and with Morehouse. We've got an MOU with Logan Chiropractic School in Missouri, if you want to go on to be a chiropractor. We've got, so many. We're about to roll one out with Arizona State. We've got so many different relationships. So we have provided pathways for our students who want to go and get advanced degrees, and I can assure you that they're able to compete with students from MIT and Florida State and Michigan State and Notre Dame and USC and any place else, because we give them a solid foundation that they can go and be successful no matter where they are.
And that's that, at the end of the day, that's what we really trying to do with this HBCU awareness series. We're trying to put out that narrative, because even though Devin and I, we're both born and raised in Mississippi. There are HBCUs in Mississippi, but in our high schools and things, you don't really, unless you are in a community that had an HBCU in that zip code, you don't really get talked about HBCUs. I mean, if you're in Mississippi and you don't live in Jackson or around the Delta, you're going to always hear about Ole Miss or Mississippi State, or they're going to tell you to go somewhere else. So it's so vitally important to have these sorts of conversations and really just stress the importance and the value that an HBCU brings to the table, that you can go there and you can truly be whatever you want to. You don't have to believe these false narratives that only Ivy League schools are the schools you need to go to if you want to get the six-figure salary as a graduate, from business school. So really, really thank you for stressing that, because that recruitment pitch to parents and students, we really, really need that. So we're going to take our last break here, Dr. Gallo, and when we come back, we're just going to end our episode as always with our final message, just a way to kind of send our episode off to our viewers in a great big old bow. So viewers, stick with us, and we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Rick Gallo. So stick with us. Viewers, let's get into this. As always, when we have our special guests, we like to allow them a final message, a way to kind of end our episode, send it off to you in a great big old bow, as we say. So remember, we've been joined today with Dr. Rick Gallo, Grambling State University President. So Dr. Gallo, just to kind of set the stage up for your final message, minority communities are playing catch up in our society. We've Devin and I, we've had several episodes to talk about where we're just trying to just catch up and just play with everyone else. Depending on where you live, your zip code, the class level of your parents, many Americans are really bound by their surroundings. And this has really just been going on generation after generation. But fortunately, HBCUs came on the map, and they've been able to kind of help to correct some of this. They've been able to kind of wrong some of these rights. And we talked about the fact that HBCUs have really aided towards building the vast majority of the middle class, the Black middle class in America, really working to better students in the communities that reside there. But, to really steer our people towards a prosperous future, Devin and I, we know that you and HBCUs, you can't really do it alone. I mean, you're just, so many institutions, so many people. So we want you to kind of leave us with the last messages. If you were going to maybe give like a fireside chat and be in the homes of every American in our country, give them a message that's going to bolster the support for HBCUs and why it's so important to have HBCUs here.
Right. So, and again, I appreciate number one, you guys inviting me on to talk to you this afternoon, and for your vision of wanting to be the positive messengers on behalf of HBCUs. if we had more who were willing to, provide us this platform, then obviously we would certainly have a much better shot at educating those who may just simply not know about many of the great things that we're doing at Grambling and at other HBCUs. But it's amazing, man. I've traveled all around the country, and almost without fail, no matter where I go, and people find out that I'm from Grambling, and certainly if they find out I'm the president of Grambling, somebody's got an Eddie Robinson story. I mean, how many people have I met who say, I met Coach Robinson in the airport at LaGuardia Airport in New York, and he was just so kind and just so humble, and took time to sign an autograph and shared a moment with me. People recognize the G, and although of course Green Bay is the originator of that G, and we also share it with Georgia. When I go through the airport in Atlanta, there's no mistake that black and gold G is for Grambling. It is not for Georgia. All right, and so we are the beneficiaries of a great brand. When you think about people like Willis Reed, who played for the New York Knicks, one of the 50 greatest players in NBA history, is a Grambling State University graduate from Bernice, Louisiana, right up the road. And Mr. Reed actually retired and lives here in the Grambling community now. It didn't matter that he came from an HBCU. When he got out on the floor, he was able to put that rock in the bucket and brought a championship to the Knicks, which is something I know they wish they could do right now. So when you think about Coach Robinson putting over 200 of his players in the NFL, at one point we led the state of Louisiana in the number of our former players who were in the NFL Hall of Fame. Up until 2 years ago, we led the state. We led LSU, Louisiana Tech, everyone else. LSU went ahead of us with 2, so they're one ahead of us now. But so we're number 2 in the state in terms of our former players who are in the NFL Hall of Fame. Again, we've got graduates who have excelled in every imaginable field of human endeavor, in law, in medicine, teachers, nurses. You can start at Grambling and literally go anywhere. And of course, now that we're in this digital age, you're only a mouse click away, or a Google search away from Grambling or any other institution in the world. And so as we continue to broaden our digital footprint, and you think about the fact that we produce more African Americans in computer science and computer information systems than any other school in the state of Louisiana. We have one of the largest criminal justice programs, and in our master's program, we graduate more from our master's program than all other Louisiana colleges combined. Those are all things that when I say it, people say, oh, wow, I had no idea you all produce more, graduates in computer science in the state than LSU and ULL and other schools. Well, look, we have a responsibility to tell our story. And if we don't tell it, then we certainly can't expect that anybody else will tell it right. Because typically when people tell your story, they're going to tell it from their lens. So it may be a lens of, not being as excellent as we are. And so that's why it's so incredibly important that and I appreciate you all inviting me on. So it gives me the chance to talk about the great things that we're doing here at Grambling. And there will be people who will be able to tune in to your podcast and will share it and like it and will know more about Grambling after they finish than they did before they started. So again, we're incredibly grateful. God's been so good to us. He just continues to bless us with amazing students, with new programs, with great opportunities, and we're excited about the future. We continue to grow, and we know that our future is bright here at Grambling. So now's a good time. And look, Beyonce knows how great we are. I mean, when she had an opportunity to invite any band that she wanted to be a part of her the launch of her new Adidas Ivy Park partnership, who did she invite to Coachella, California? Grambling State University. place where everybody is somebody.
I like it. I love it. I love that message there. I love that ending because that is, like you say, watching. If you didn't get anything from this interview, that last little 30 seconds there at the end, that is what we wanted to get out of this interview for people to take home with them. That this is what you can do, and this is the education that you can get from Grambling State University. Where Dr. Rick Gallo is the president, and they're doing some amazing things down there in all fields of education. So no matter what you're trying to do, it's absolutely worth a look, for Grambling or any HBCU, but really Grambling State, as you just heard, dictated there by the president. So again, Dr. Rick Allen, we appreciate you giving us your time. This was an amazing interview. And again, it gives us a window into what's going on down there at Grambling State, the amazing things that you all are doing, and will continue to do as we move on past this, this pandemic, and try to get back to, whatever normal is. Hopefully, one day we'll be able to come down there and meet you in person, maybe interview in person when things are back to normal. But we appreciate you giving us your time. Adrian, any last thoughts before we go?
Other than this is awesome. When Devin and I knew that March was HBCU Awareness Month, we just knew that we had to do an HBCU Awareness series. We're coming out of Black History Month, where we've been doing a lot of talks about Black history and how we've kind of stressed, our value to society, 365 days out of the year, and not just try to, cram it all into one month. And HBCUs hold a special place and show, special value to our society. So we just thank you, Dr. Gallo. Can't thank you enough.
Sure.
Again, this is awesome, and we look forward to, being able to connect with you and the university more.
Well, look, Devin, when you dropped off, I found out that both of you guys are tuba players. So maybe y'all need to come down for homecoming, and we might be able to slip y'all into the alumni band and perform with the world famed alumni band. How about that?
That would be incredible.
We're gonna, Dr. Gallot, we're gonna keep this, and we're gonna play this
that
for the band director when we come over there. We're gonna say your university president said that we could play, so here it is. Here it is in color.
Look, Dr. Roebuck is amazing. She's the first female band director in Grambling's history, and
Wow.
she is absolutely amazing. Dr. Nicole Roebuck is our director, and she is. I tell you what, she's getting it done. She is getting it done. We're so proud of the work that she and the world fame are doing. Again, they'll be performing with or along with FAMU's band for the NBA All-Star game. Again, those are things that they're. Mississippi State. You say you went to Mississippi State, right?
We both did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Mississippi State band is not performing for the NBA All-Star game, but Grambling and FAMU are. All right.
We are not.
I would
say go and tell that, right?
Yeah, I would say not to throw too much shade at Mississippi State, but the band experience was nowhere near the level of band experience we could have had at Grambling or any HBCU for that matter.
That's right.
It was hands down your band experience that HBCUs can provide are superior. So if you're in band, viewers, you better check out Grambling or HBCU, especially Grambling, because their band is by far one of the best in the land. So
baddest in the land. No, not one of the best. We're the baddest in the land.
Well,
you can tell Larry. Look, you can tell Larry Robinson I said that. Okay.
I was about to say we can't say too much because we're going to be interviewing JSU president too, so we can't ruffle too many feathers.
Oh, look, Dr. Hudson's doing a great job over there. I was texting with him yesterday. We're going to they will come here to play on March 6th, and I tell you what, he's doing a great job. Dr. Hudson's doing an amazing job, and we're just grateful to have him as a colleague, and looking forward to hosting he and the JSU Tigers on March 6th.
No, that's awesome. It sounds like you all in higher administration with HBCU's great camaraderie. So it's great to see that relationship has flourished, even outside of being students and things. That's really great to kind of see that y'all Texan working together, mentoring and things like that. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Look, David Wilson up at Morgan State does an amazing job up there. Has been a great mentor to me, and we're working on an MOU partnership with our cybersecurity program and his graduate program in cybersecurity. If y'all gave me another hour, I could absolutely tell you a whole lot more about just what a close knit community we have as HBCU leaders. And although we may compete, like with Southern in the Bayou Classic, Ray Belton is my frat brother. He's my friend. And although we compete once, and this year to be twice for Bayou Classic, we are friends, and we absolutely support one another, because if Grambling does well, Southern does well, we all do well. And so I want all HBCUs to win. I'm pulling for every HBCU, unless we're playing them on that particular day, and then I'll pull for them the next day. All right.
I was about to say, it's a nice friendly rivalry. Everybody's still friends, but you still want to be the best at the end of the day. No?
Indeed.
No,
Look, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you. And we appreciate you giving us your time. And so viewers, this was Dr. Rick Gallot. He's the president at Grambling State University. You can see it there in the background. And so whenever you see the black and gold G there, don't remember, it's not Georgia. It's for Grambling State.
It is Grambling State University, the place where everybody is somebody.
All right. And with that, we're going to take a break here. And when we come back, Devin and I, we're just going to end our episode. So viewers, stick with us. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back. So as always, we like to end our show with giving you, some looking forward, to tell you some things that we're going to be doing and what's upcoming for our show. And so first, we want to let you know that the interview you saw today is part of a broader series about HBCUs, and it's going to be because we are recognizing HBCU Awareness Month, and we're going to be doing this HBCU Awareness Series. And so each week, we will be releasing a conversation with the leader at an HBCU. And that goes from Howard to Grambling State that you heard today. We have quite a lineup, for this month. And so make sure you stick around, make sure you subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of the conversations that we have. And if you haven't already, go ahead and go back and listen to our conversation with President Thomas Hudson of Jackson State University, a great conversation. And so make sure you go back and listen to him, listen to our conversation with Dr. Leigh Robinson from FAMU. This series is going to be great. And so we're going to try to compile some really, really good things that, students and educators and just regular people can kind of tune in and see what's happening at our HBCUs. And so we're going to be doing that, but we also bring you the news on Saturday, every Saturday at 7:30. You can catch us on our weekly roundup show. As always, we try to make sure to bring you the breaking news of the week, and we do that on our Saturday show. And so we'll be coming live on March 6th at 7:30 p.m. as usual on Facebook and YouTube. So you can watch us there. Make sure you share it with your people so you can keep up with what's going on in our community. And so we always say this, but this venture here at the Black Agenda is not free. Unfortunately, it looks great, sounds great, but it does cost money to get it to look like this. And so, Adrian, you can tell the people where they can donate to us.
Yeah, Devin, you're right. It does cost money because I every month I see those dollars, adding up, coming out. So yeah, viewers, we'd love to be able to have you as a monthly patron. All you got to do, you can go to our website, blackagendapod.com. Whenever you're listening to our audio podcast, you can just hit the donate or the patron button and it'll take you there. The reason you do that, yes, you're doing it to help us to make this easier for us to put it together and bring it to you. But we're really trying to transform this to more than just an audio podcast, video podcast. We want to be an organization, an institution for our community. We want to be able to help and work with other nonprofits. So that's why you're doing that, to really make this thing blossom, flourish, and go even further than what we imagined. And speaking of, working with other nonprofits, one of the new initiatives that Devin and I wanted to do was start selecting a charity of the month and starting to highlight that and driving some web attention to them, maybe building some social media awareness for them. And for the month of March, just to kind of coincide with our HBCU awareness series, we're going to be doing Thurgood Marshall College Fund for our charity of the month for the month of March. Their mission is to ensure student success by promoting educational excellence and preparing the next generation of workforce talent through leadership development. They really work to, fund a lot of HBCUs with their students and things. So we really wanted to, like I said, highlight them in addition to going with our HBCU awareness series. So yeah, Devin, plenty of reasons to give. Viewers start off by doing just $1 a month because $1 a month is very small, and we blow $1 a month on a lot of stuff. But this is something that'll actually benefit.
That is right. That is right. That's a great message. And of course, before we go, we always like to tell you to like, share, and follow us on social media. And so, again, that you can find the Black Agenda Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can follow us at Black Agenda Pod. That's our handle. And again, that's at Black Agenda Pod. And so make sure you follow us and like us. Also, you can now visit our new website, which is blackagendapod.com. And that's blackagendapod.com. You can go there. You can see all of our recorded episodes for the podcast. You can see our weekly roundups. And you can also donate to us, like Adrian just explained to you a few seconds ago. So make sure you go and check that out. That's blackagendapod.com. We're just trying to get the message out there, about HBCUs, but also other issues that are important to our community. So make sure you share this content with your family, your friends, coworkers, anybody. Share it with everybody and listen to us and like us and follow us. And so before we go, Adrian, any last thoughts?
No, other than make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you stay on the loop to these HBCUs. If you've got some nieces, nephews, cousins, brothers, sisters, anybody that's college age, consider sitting them down in front of one of these conversations with one of the leaders and educate them on the importance of choosing the HBCU.
Absolutely. And so with that, we appreciate you watching and staying with us, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you for watching.